Frederick and Catherine have ended their Swiss tryst in the mountains of Montreux and moved to the city of Lausanne to await little Catherine's arrival. My name is Trisha Sulpizio. I'm your host for Tea and Bedtime Stories. In this episode, we will continue reading Ernest Hemingway's novel, A Farewell to Arms. Last time we read and discussed chapter 40 of book 5, and I will continue the story with chapter 41, part 1 of the very last chapter of the entire novel. I decided to split it up into 2 episodes because it's a really long chapter. It's the longest of the novel, and it would be a very long recording. And I try my hardest to keep the length between 20 and 30 minutes. It doesn't always work out, but I try for consistency. And so after tonight's reading, as always, I'll follow up with a few quick facts and my impressions. So let's begin with chapter 41 of book 5, part 1. One morning, I awoke about 3 o'clock hearing Catherine stirring in the bed. "Are you all right, Cat?" "I've been having some pains, darling." "Regularly?" "No, not very." "If you have them at all regularly, we'll go to the hospital." I was very sleepy and went back to sleep. A little while later, I woke again. "Maybe you'd better call up the doctor," Catherine said. "I think maybe this is it." I went to the phone and called the doctor. "How often are the pains coming?" he asked. "How often are they coming, Cat?" "I should think every quarter of an hour." "You should go to the hospital then," the doctor said. "I'll dress and go there right away myself." I hung up and called the garage near the station to send up a taxi. No one answered the phone for a long time. Then I finally got a man who promised to send up a taxi at once. Catherine was dressing. Her bag was all packed with the things she would need at the hospital and the baby things. Outside in the hall, I rang for the elevator. There was no answer. I went downstairs. There was no one downstairs except the night watchman. I brought the elevator up myself, put Catherine's bag in it, and stepped in, and we went down. The night watchman opened the door for us, and we sat outside on the stone slabs beside the stairs down to the driveway and waited for the taxi. The night was clear and the stars were out. Catherine was very excited. "I'm so glad it started," she said. "Now in a little while it'll be all over." "You're a good, brave girl." "I'm not afraid. I wish the taxi would come, though." We heard it coming up the street and saw its headlights. It turned into the driveway and I helped Catherine in, and the driver put the bag up in front. "Drive to the hospital," I said. We went out of the driveway and started up the hill. At the hospital we went in and I carried the bag. There was a woman at the desk who wrote down Catherine's name, age, address, relatives, and religion in a book. She said she had no religion, and the woman drew a line in the space after that word. She gave her name as Catherine Henry. "I will take you up to your room," she said. We went up in the elevator. The woman stopped it, and we stepped out and followed her down a hall. Catherine held tight to my arm. "This is the room," the woman said. "Will you please undress and get into bed? Here's a nightgown for you to wear." "I have a nightgown," Catherine said. "It's better for you to wear this nightgown," the woman said. I went outside and sat on a chair in the hallway. "You can come in now," the woman said from the doorway. Catherine was lying in the narrow bed wearing a plain, square-cut nightgown that looked as though it were made of rough sheeting. She smiled at me. "I'm having fine pains now," she said. The woman was holding her wrist and timing the pains with a watch. "That was a big one," Catherine said. I saw it on her face. "Where's the doctor?" I asked the woman. "He's lying down sleeping. He will be here when he is needed." "I must do something for Madame now," the nurse said. "Would you please step out again?" I went out into the hall. It was a bare hall with 2 windows and closed doors all down the corridor. It smelled of hospital. I sat on the chair and looked at the floor and prayed for Catherine. "You can come in," the nurse said. I went in. "Hello, darling," Catherine said. "How is it?" "They're coming quite often now." Her face drew up, then she smiled. "That was a real one. Do you want to put your hand on my back again, nurse?" "If it helps you," the nurse said. You go away, darling, Catherine said. Go out and get something to eat. I may do this for a long time, the nurse says. The first labor is usually protracted, the nurse said. Please go out and get something to eat, Catherine said. I'm fine, really. I'll stay a while, I said. The pains came quite regularly, then slackened off. Catherine was very excited. When the pains were bad, she called them good ones. When they started to fall off, she was disappointed and ashamed. You go out, darling, she said. I think you were just making me self-conscious. Her face tightened up. There, that was better. I want so to be a good wife and have this child without any foolishness. Please go and get some breakfast, darling, and then come back. I won't miss you. Nurse is splendid to me. You have plenty of time for breakfast, the nurse said. I'll go then. Goodbye, sweet. Goodbye, Catherine said. And have a fine breakfast for me, too. Where can I get breakfast? I asked the nurse. There's a cafe down the street at the square, she said. It should be open now. Outside it was getting light. I walked down the empty street to the cafe. There was a light in the window. I went in and stood at the zinc bar, and an old man served me a glass of white wine and a brioche. The brioche was yesterday's. I dipped it in the wine and then drank a glass of coffee. What do you do at this hour? The old man asked. My wife is in labor at the hospital. So, I wish you good luck. Give me another glass of wine. He poured it from the bottle, slapping it over a little, and some ran down on the zinc. I drank the glass, paid and went out. Outside along the street were the refuse cans from the houses waiting for the collector. A dog was nosing at one of the cans. What do you want? I asked and looked in the can to see if there was anything. I could pull it out for him. There was nothing on top but coffee grounds, dust, and some dead flowers. There isn't anything, dog, I said. The dog crossed the street. I went up the stairs to the hospital to the floor Catherine was on and down the hall to her room. I knocked on the door. There was no answer. I opened the door. The room was empty except for Catherine's bag on a chair and her dressing gown hanging on a hook on the wall. I went out and down the hall looking for somebody. I found a nurse. Where is Madame Henry? A lady has just gone to the delivery room. Where is it? I'll show you. She took me down to the end of the hall. The door of the room was partly open. I could see Catherine lying on a table, covered in a sheet. The nurse was on one side and the doctor stood on the other side of the table beside some cylinders. The doctor held a rubber mask attached to a tube in one hand. I will give you a gown and you can go in, the nurse said. Come in here, please. She put a white gown on me and pinned it at the back with a safety pin. Now you can go in, she said. I went into the room. Hello, darling, Catherine said in a strained voice. I'm not doing much. You are Mr. Henry, the doctor asked. Yes. How is everything going, doctor? Things are going very well, the doctor said. We came in here where it is easy to give gas for the pains. I want it now, Catherine said. The doctor placed the rubber mask over her face and turned a dial. I watched Catherine breathing deeply and rapidly. Then she pushed the mask away. The doctor shut off the petcock. That wasn't a very big one. I had a very big one a while ago. The doctor made me go clear out, didn't you, doctor? Her voice was strange. It rose on the word doctor. The doctor smiled. I want it again, Catherine said. She held the rubber tight to her face and breathed fast. I heard her moaning a little. Then she pulled the mask away and smiled. That was a big one, she said. That was a very big one. Don't you worry, darling. You go away. Go have another breakfast. I'll stay, I said. We had gone to the hospital about 3 o'clock in the morning. At noon, Catherine was still in the delivery room. The pains had slackened again. She looked very tired and worn now, but she was still cheerful. I'm not any good, darling, she said. I'm so sorry. I thought I would do it very easily. Now, there's one. She reached out her hand for the mask and held it over her face. The doctor moved the dial and watched her. In a little while it was over. It wasn't much, Catherine said. She smiled. I'm a fool about the gas. It's wonderful. We'll get some for the home, I said. There one comes, Catherine said quickly. The doctor turned the dial and looked at his watch. What is the interval now? I asked. About a minute. Don't you want lunch? I'll have something pretty soon, he said. You must have something to eat, Doctor, Catherine said. I'm so sorry I go on so long. Couldn't my husband give me the gas? If you wish, the doctor said. You turn it to the numeral 2. I see, I said. There was a marker on a dial that turned with the handle. I want it now, Catherine said. She held the mask tight to her face. I turned the dial to number 2, and when Catherine put down the mask, I turned it off. It was very good of the doctor to let me do something. Did you do it, darling? Catherine asked. She stroked my wrist. Sure. You're so lovely. She was a little drunk from the gas. I will eat from a tray in the next room, the doctor said. You can call me any moment. While the time passed, I watched him eat. Then, after a while, I saw that he was lying down and smoking a cigarette. Catherine was getting very tired. Do you think I'll ever have this baby? She asked. Yes, of course you will. I try as hard as I can. I push down, but it goes away. There it comes. Give it to me. At 2 o'clock, I went out and had lunch. There were a few men in the cafe sitting with coffee and glasses of Kirsch and Mark on the tables. I sat down at a table. Can I eat? I asked the waiter. It's past time for lunch. Is there anything for all hours? You can have choucroute. Give me choucroute and a beer. A demi or a bock? A light demi. The waiter brought a fish of sauerkraut with a slice of ham over the top and a sausage buried in the hot wine-soaked cabbage. I ate it and drank the beer. I was very hungry. I watched the people at the tables in the cafe. At one table they were playing cards. 2 men at the table next to me were talking and smoking. The cafe was full of smoke. The zinc bar where I had breakfasted had 3 people behind it now. The old man, a plump woman in a black dress who had sat behind a counter and kept track of everything served to the tables, and a boy in an apron. I wondered how many children the woman had and what it had been like. When I was through with the choucroute, I went back to the hospital. The street was all clean now. There were no refuse cans out. The day was cloudy, but the sun was trying to come through. I rode upstairs in the elevator, stepped out, and went down the hall to Catherine's room, where I'd left my white gown. I put it on, pinned it in the back of the neck. I looked in the glass and saw myself looking a fake doctor with a beard. I went down the hall to the delivery room. The door was closed and I knocked. No one answered, so I turned the handle and went in. The doctor sat by Catherine. The nurse was doing something at the other end of the room. Here's your husband, the doctor said. Oh, darling, I have the most wonderful doctor, Catherine said in a very strange voice. He's been telling me the most wonderful story, and when the pain came too badly, he put me all the way out. He's wonderful. You're wonderful, doctor. You're drunk, I said. I know it, Catherine said, but you shouldn't say it. Then give it to me, give it to me. She clutched hold of the mask and breathed short and deep, pantingly, making the respirator click. Then she gave a long sigh, and the doctor reached with his left hand and lifted away the mask. That was a very big one, Catherine said, her voice very strange. I'm not going to die now, darling. I'm past where I was going to die. Aren't you glad? Don't you get in that place again. I won't. I'm not afraid of it, though. I won't die, darling. You will not do any such foolishness, the doctor said. You would not die and leave your husband. Oh, no, I won't die. I wouldn't die. It's silly to die. There it comes. Give it to me. After a while, the doctor said, You will go out, Mr. Henry, for a few moments. I will make an examination. He wants to see how I'm doing, Catherine said. You can come back afterwards, darling, can't you, doctor? Yes, said the doctor. I will send a word when he can come back. I went out the door and went down the hall to a room where Catherine was after the baby came. I sat in a chair there and looked at the room. I had the paper in my coat that I had bought when I went out for lunch and read it. It was beginning to be dark outside, and I turned the light on to read. After a while, I stopped reading and turned off the light and watched it get dark outside. I wondered why the doctor did not send for me. Maybe it was better I was away. He probably wanted me away for a while. I looked at my watch. If he did not send for me in 10 minutes, I would go down anyway. Poor dear cat. And this was the price you paid for sleeping together. This was the end of the trap. This is what people got for loving each other. Thank God for gas, anyway. What must it have been like before there was anesthetics? Once it started, they were in the mill race. Catherine had a good time in the time of pregnancy. It wasn't bad. She was hardly ever sick. She was not awfully uncomfortable until toward the last. So now they'd got her in the end. You never got away with anything. Get away, hell. It would have been the same if we'd been married 50 times. And what if she should die? She won't die. People don't die in childbirth nowadays. That was what all husbands thought. Yes, but what if she should die? She won't die. She's just having a bad time. The initial labor is usually protracted. She's only having a bad time. Afterward, we'd say what a bad time, and Catherine would say it wasn't really so bad. But what if she should die? She can't die. Yes, but what if she should die? She can't, I tell you. Don't be a fool. It's just a bad time. It's just nature giving her hell. It's only the first labor, which is almost always protracted. Yes, but what if she should die? She can't die. Why would she die? What reason is there for her to die? There's just a child that has to be born, the byproduct of good nights in Milan. It makes trouble and is born, and then you look after it and get fond of it, maybe. But what if she should die? She won't die. But what if she should die? She won't. She's all right. But what if she should die? She can't die. But what if she should die? Hey, what about that? What if she should die? The doctor came into the room. How does it go, doctor? It doesn't go, he said. What do you mean? Just that. I made an examination. He detailed the results of the examination. Since then, I've waited to see, but it doesn't go. What do you advise? There are two things. Either a high forceps delivery, which can tear and be quite dangerous, besides being possibly bad for the child, and a cesarean. What is the danger of a cesarean? What if she should die? It should be no greater than the danger of an ordinary delivery. Would you do it yourself? Yes, I would need possibly an hour to get things ready, and to get people I would need, perhaps a little less. What do you think? I would advise a cesarean operation. If it were my wife, I would do a cesarean. What are the after effects? There are none. There is only a scar. What about infection? The danger is not so great as in high forceps delivery. What if you just went on and did nothing? You'd have to do something eventually. Mrs. Henry is already losing much of her strength. The sooner we operate now, the safer. Operate as soon as you can, I said. I will go and give the instructions. I went to the delivery room. The nurse was with Catherine, who lay on the table, big under the sheet, looking very pale and tired. Did you tell him he couldn't do it? He could do it? She asked. Yes. Isn't that grand? Now it will be all over in an hour. I'm almost done, darling. I'm going all to pieces. Please give me that. It doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work. Breathe deeply. I am. Oh, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. Get another cylinder, I said to the nurse. That is a new cylinder. I'm just a fool, darling, Catherine said. It doesn't work anymore, she began to cry. Oh, I wanted so to have this baby and not make trouble, and now I'm all done and all gone to pieces, and it doesn't work. Oh, darling, it doesn't work at all. I don't care if I die, if it will only stop. Oh, please, darling, please make it stop. There it comes. Oh. She breathed sobbingly in the mask. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't mind me, darling. Please don't cry. Don't mind me. I'm just gone all to pieces. You poor sweet. I love you so, and I'll be good again. I'll be good this time. Can't they give me something? If they could only give me something. I'll make it work. I'll turn it all the way. Give it to me now. I turned the dial all the way, and she breathed hard and deep, and her hand relaxed on the mask. I shut off the gas and lifted the mask. She came back from a long way away. That was lovely, darling. Oh, you're so good to me. You be brave, because I can't do that all the time. It might kill you. I'm not brave anymore, darling. I'm all broken. They've broken me. I know it now. Everybody is that way. But it's awful. They just keep it up till they break you. In an hour it will be over. Isn't that lovely? Darling, I won't die, will I? No, I promise you won't. Because I don't want to die and leave you, but I get so tired of it. And I feel I'm going to die. Nonsense, everybody feels that way. Sometimes I know I'm going to die. You won't. You can't. But what if I should? I won't let you. Give it to me quick. Give it to me. Then afterward, I won't die. I won't let myself die. Of course you won't. You'll stay with me? Not to watch it. No, just to be there. Sure, I'll be there all the time. You're so good to me. There, give it to me. Give it to me more. It's not working. I turned the dial to 3, then 4. I wish the doctor would come back. I was afraid of the numbers above 2. That concludes the first half of chapter 41. Now I'll read some quick facts and my impressions. When he was talking about a protracted pregnancy, the first labor is usually protracted. It just means it takes longer the first time you have a baby. Usually, not always. It can take longer during any pregnancy. There's no rhyme or reason, but for the most part, first pregnancies always, labors always take longer. Zinc, when he was talking about the zinc bar, zinc was a common metal used for countertops for bars. They were all over, like, old world Paris. I don't know that they were that popular in Switzerland, I'm imagining, since it's right next to France. But it's kind of interesting. It's just a galvanized metal, like stainless steel. But most of them were deconstructed during World War II because they needed to melt down the metal for weapons or whatever. They were running out of resources. And they took anything they could find during wartime, which is kind of sad. Brioche is it's like a roll usually, or a loaf. You can make the dough into like small loaves or big loaves. But it's made with this really buttery kind of dough, similar, I guess, to a croissant roll, but not. Anyway, brioche has like different, you can serve it by itself. It can be sweet or not. It's usually a little bit sweeter, but you can, like, there's actually, in France, they make a Swiss brioche, which is like made with like cream and chocolate chips. It's called Swiss brioche, but it's made in France. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. A petcock, when he was talking about having to turn down the petcock, that's just a small shut-off valve. If you have, most people have them on the outside of their home where their hose connects, so that you can kind of turn it off without shutting down the faucet. It's just a small shut-off valve used to control the flow of gas or fluids. You can use them on motorcycles too, Kirsch is also known as Kirschwasser, which is like a brandy, traditionally made from morello cherries, but it's not sweet like you would expect a cherry liqueur to be. But I guess it's very popular in Switzerland and Germany. Mark, because he was talking about they have Kirsch or Mark on the tables. Mark, on the other hand, is sounds like a really cheap, I've never had it, but it sounds like a really cheap liquor made from pumice, which is like the skin, seeds, and stems that are left over when you press grapes for wine. Sounds kind of gross, but to each his own, I guess. Choucroute is the French word for sauerkraut, which is basically chopped cabbage that has been pickled in some kind of a brine. Kind of like kimchi, I guess, but not. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's late. What he had was more similar to choucroute garni, which is a French dish where it's sauerkraut mixed with some kind of meat. Since he said it had ham and sausage, that would be choucroute garni. When the bartender asked him if he wanted demi, that usually refers to like a smaller portion. Like here in the United States, if you go to a bar and you ask for a draft beer, they'll ask you if you want a glass or a pint. And the glass is the smaller size. It's like the half-size portion. Demi's not a recognized like serving size. I guess it was just a slang term that they used for like the glass portion of beer. Bock is a traditional German lager, and it's known for like a strong malt flavor. And it has it's made in all different kinds of ways, but it can taste like caramelly or like toffee or like rye bread. I don't know. German lager to me is disgusting. I don't make it a habit of drinking those heavy beers. I like a wheat beer, something light and fruity personally. But I guess if you go to Germany, they have all kinds of cool festivals around their Bock beers, and they'll make special seasonal varieties for different festivals, which sounds really fun. Anyway, a mill race, when he was saying that you're in the mill race now, that basically refers to a channel or passage of some kind, usually a wheel, that carries water. So imagine like an old paddle boat wheel ship or something, or a wheel that powers the mill before they had electricity on the grid like we have now. They would use these water wheels to power the mills, and so they called it the mill race. Once the water gets in that track, it doesn't get out. It's kind of a clever word picture for pregnancy. Anyway, yeah, because once you're pregnant, not getting out of that very easily. Anyway, essentially, it's just the waterway that delivers water. So that's all of the quick facts that I have. Oh, the gas that she was using, I forgot to mention, was probably ether or chlorine, I'm guessing. That was what would have been commonly used. In Germany, they started using like a mixture of morphine and some other chemical in a drip around that time. But ether or chlorine would be much more commonly used. So that's probably what she was being given. I don't know. They don't say. But my impressions, I think it's really interesting how Fred starts to like pay attention to things around him that are kind of new. Like with the dog, he starts to try to help him, where that seems like a little bit out of character. And then when he notices like the woman at the bar, right? He goes for breakfast and then he comes back for a late lunch, and he starts to wonder about her children. And it's kind of interesting. It's like his world is opened up and he's finally curious about the things around him that he was never really interested in before, right? He's thinking about things other than himself for once. Because his wife or girlfriend, whatever, is pregnant now. He's thinking about this. It's kind of like when you get a new car and you start to see them, the same car that you just bought everywhere. I think he's now starting to notice, like, I guess, I don't know, issues surrounding parenting and child rearing. And it's like, in a weird way, he's trying to figure out how to be a parent. As strange as that sounds, he's at least beginning to look for clues, which means he's at least started to realize that he's clueless. Anyway, I think it's also notable that the novel's central love story was supposedly inspired by Ernest's time during World War II when he was injured, and he apparently fell in love with a woman named Agnes, who was a nurse that he met while he was recovering from his injuries. And when Hemingway was writing this particular novel, almost 10 years after that relationship had ended, he was already married to his second wife, Pauline, who apparently had really difficult pregnancies when giving birth to their son, Patrick, and their second son, Gregory. But she had just had Patrick before this novel was finished. And so clearly there's a parallel between her experience and Catherine's experience in the book, right? But Ernest decided to dedicate this book to his first wife, Hadley, whom he had divorced after having an affair with his second wife, Pauline, right? So he's married to Hadley, has a kid, has an affair with, after Agnes and him break up. So now he's married to Pauline, but he dedicates the book to Hadley that he wrote about his love for Agnes. The whole thing's convoluted, to say the least. But Hadley, by his biographer's accounts, was thought to be the love of his life. But who on earth could tell? He was married 4 times, and I don't know, clearly was unfaithful in every single one of his relationships, except for that first one. I don't know. Interesting. But who knows? Because he talked about being with prostitutes or whatever in the story, so maybe he was never a fidelitous man. And I don't know why I bring that up, other than to say that romance for me, and I think for a lot of people, loses its value when infidelity enters relationships, right? I don't know. I'm sure I'm also the victim of the Disney princess syndrome, where I kind of been indoctrinated to believe that there's some happily ever after with your one true love, which I know is complete nonsense. But I would still like to believe that it's true. And it would be really nice if this story, mirrored some real life circumstances, since that's what Ernest claimed that he wanted to write about, was real life stuff. Anyway, I don't know. But I question the depth of his emotions because he's so unfaithful. I don't know. And call me delusional, but I guess I need reminders that I'm reading a work of fiction. Sometimes I get too invested in the characters. And so when I notice inconsistencies, it's like, just reminds me, oh yeah, somebody just made this up for their own entertainment. It's not real life. So I apologize if I got too into the story. But The whole inner dialogue where Henry contemplates the possibility of her dying, where he goes back and forth in his head. You can't tell if you're not looking at the text, but all that was just going on in him in his head while he was sitting there waiting for the doctor to come back in. Is she going to die? She can't die. Oh my God, she's going to die. And I honestly struggled to relate to that. It was just another reminder. Oh yeah, this is just a made up story. Because it felt weirdly obsessive, that back and forth. I get that he's trying to paint a picture in this chapter, right? First he falls back asleep when she's having pain, so that creates dramatic tension. Then they can't get a cab, or no one's in the hotel. More dramatic tension. Can't get a taxi. He's building dramatic tension throughout this story to try to pull us along this journey emotionally. I totally get that, but that piece in particular just felt really weird. But then I started to think about, because I would never have those thoughts. I would never just go back and forth. Oh my God, someone's going to die, and then they're not. I don't think like that. But then I realized Ernest Hemingway had bipolar disorder. And maybe that is a demonstration of what it's like in the mind of someone who is manic. I don't know. It seemed very haunted. And also, if you recall in previous chapters, we discussed the character's signs in his behavior of normative male alexithymia. You can look it up. It's in the American Psychological Association's handbook, but I'll put it in the description. Anyway, if you remember, it's just the difficulty in identifying, processing, and expressing emotions, which this character clearly demonstrates and has demonstrated throughout the book, and I think we see it repeated again, that he's just struggling to process his emotions and trying to remain stoic, which is kind of sad. And just to clarify, normative male alexithymia is linked to masculinity. It discourages emotional expression, right? And it's only called normative because it's the normative type of behavior. Not because it's healthy or natural, but because society shapes these expectations of how men should behave. And it's not to be emotional. And so they develop this NMA, distortion in emotional processing. And this character clearly struggles with that disorder. It's like he won't allow himself to consider the possibility of life without Catherine, especially since she is all he has to hold on to right now, right? His faith in his future is entirely wrapped up in this relationship. And that part of it, I can relate to wholeheartedly. When I was young and newly married, well, not that young, but still newly married, I could not even imagine that I would ever be divorced. I remember trying to get a library card, and none of the bills were in my name, and the librarian looked, she's like, "Are you crazy?" And I was so offended by that. I'm like, "Well, I don't need them in my name. My husband takes care of that." And she's like, "What if something happens?" I'm like, "Nothing's gonna happen." Oh my God, I was so wrong. I can laugh about it now because it's been decades past, but I never would have thought I would have ever ended that relationship. That was it. That's what I signed up for. Finito. And I was completely devastated when it ended. For a long time, I was messed up. I'm probably still messed up in the head in some ways because of it, because I just did not expect that at all. And I guess like Hemingway, I learned not to put all my eggs in the same basket ever again. Somehow it feels wiser to diversify your portfolio of interests. I don't know. I don't mean to be cynical about their love and relationships, but I think I'm feeling the need to mitigate the impact of whatever is going to happen next, because I know something bad is coming, And I don't want to feel completely devastated when it does. But I don't know. FYI, I've not read the second half of this chapter. I'm doing this in real time. But I can tell from the tone and context that something bad is going to happen. And it is marked a tragic love story. So I'm sure something even more devastating is going to happen as a climax to this sad and awful book. But I don't know what it is. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little scared. Anyway, those are my impressions for part 1. In the next episode, we will conclude A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway and read part 2 of chapter 41. So please join me for more teen bedtime stories in the final episode of season 1. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks for listening.